What is your interpreted framework? What's your interpreted framework? That's hard to say 10 times. What's your interpreted framework, Jerry? One of the things that a friend of mine, Don Kennedy, has been teaching me is being aware of how you interpret data and, against the backdrop of the framework that you're using to interpret that data. And one of the things that I'm learning about leaders is leaders interpret data all the time, and then we take our framework and we massage that information and then we do something with it. Many times what leaders are doing with that, the interpretation of that information against the backdrop of the framework, is then re-delivering that information with the intention to influence or manipulate. Maybe understand. Maybe it's understand and then influence or manipulate. Obviously manipulation is super unhealthy. Understanding is good, and influence, I believe, is good as well. But what I'm learning about leaders is when you present them with information based on what their framework is of that information, they will take information, they will massage it to understand it, and then they will use that information to either influence you or try to manipulate you. It's really interesting when you're talking to leaders and providing them insight or information, or for yourself as you're exposed to new information or new insight, like how are you interpreting that? What's the framework that you're using to interpret that? And then what are you doing with that data? What's your intention? What are your motives? Jerry, that's a great question, right? What are your motives as you're interpreting that data, right? Is it the framework that you're interpreting that data to manipulate a situation or influence a situation or just understand a situation? I think those are really important. And if you're a leader of leaders, one of the things that you'll do, one of the things I'm doing is I'm really paying attention to my leaders to see how they interpret information against the backdrop of their framework, and then what are they doing with it? Are they trying to understand, are they trying to influence, or are they trying to manipulate? Really, really interesting. Don Kennedy, thank you for that insight. It's been really, I'm on this season of really working on my interpreted framework, understanding myself, and then understanding the leaders around me.